Welcome to Learning Python, episode 5. And in this episode, we're going to learn how to make if statements. So let's get right into it. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to name it ifstatements.py. And let's get right into it. So what is an if statement? An if statement is if a certain condition is met, then do something. And let's see how this works in Python. So I'm going to create a little variable here. I'm going to call it x, and I'm going to set it to 0. Now, let's create our if statement. But before we do that, I need to show you all the types of conditions. So the framework of an if statement is you have your if statement, and then you have your condition, and then after that, you have an action. And this condition can be a lot of things. Like it could be something's greater than, it could be something's less than, and there's a few things you can do. So there's greater than, so this is going to equal to, this is greater than, and it's going to be this little angle bracket right here, and the smaller part's pointing to the right. And you also have your less than symbol, and then you also have greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to. You also have, this is going to be less than or equal to, and you also have equals to. So let's see how this looks in Python. So we're going to actually create our if statement now. So if x, and let's do greater than here. So if x is greater than, let's think of a number like 1. And then now we need our action. So I'm going to type in a colon and enter. And what should happen here is that this indent here should appear. It should indent your line all the way up to here. And what this does is that this indent sort of indicates that, okay, whatever you're typing here belongs to this if statement. So everything you type in this indent will be ran if the condition above is true. If I type in print x is greater than 1, then this will only get ran if this condition is true. But let's say, you type it outside of the if statement here. And the error message here is because you haven't typed anything inside the if statement. But if you put this outside, then this will get ran no matter what. So let's see what happens if you try running this. Control S to save and press run. So you can see nothing happens. That's because 0 is not greater than 1. So this doesn't get called. But let's change x to 20. Let's see what happens there. Control S to save, run. You can finally see that x is greater than 1. And you can also have, less than 1. So if you run this won't be called because 20 is not less than 1. You can, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, equals to. And that's really it for these conditions for the if statement, but there's also one more thing. And that's going to be the else if. And let's say you're trying to create, a bunch of scenarios here. So let's say, if x is equal to 1, do this, but what about if x is greater than 1? How about we do this? And what if x is less than something? We need to do this. That's what the else if is for. So, and what happens here is that if the condition above is not true, let's say if this wasn't true, then we would make an else if below, and then that condition would be ran. The else if below would be ran. And let's try to create this in Python. So I'm going to do if x is greater than 1. I'm going to type in print x is greater than 1. And then let's say, what if this isn't true? We need to create another scenario for this. So what if elif? This is else if. So in Python, we just do it elif to make it short and sweet to the point. Else if x is less than 1. Then we're going to print x is, let me spell right there. Print x is less than 1. So what happens here so we have x is equal to 20 here. So x is equal to 20. So if 20 is greater than 1, that's true. It'll print this, so that means it's over. This won't ever be ran because this is true. But let's say we set x to negative 200. This won't be true. But if this condition isn't true, it'll move on to the next one, which is this elif right here. And then this one will be called. But if you put, 2 if statements, then this will be ran, and this will also be ran. which may seem fine, but in certain situations it may not be. So you always want to do elifs. And there's also one last thing you want to learn about, and that's the else statement. And then what essentially that is if all other if/elif statements are not true, then the else statement will be ran. So let's say we set if x is greater than 1. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to put it down here. So if let's say x is not greater than 1 and x is not less than 1. If all else is not true, we'll type in else, print x is not greater than 1 and it is not less than 1. And let's see what happens if you try running that. So I'm going to comment this out temporarily and comment this out temporarily. So I'm going to set x to 1. And what's going to happen here is that it's not greater than 1, it's not less than 1, so this should be called. Let's see what happens. You can see x is not greater than 1, and it's not less than 1. So, that is really all you need to know about if statements.